vengeance. I am the Knight. I am Batman!
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment.
It would move me to tears if I still had tears to shed.
It's over, Joker.
Over? Why, my dear delusional Dark Knight hasn't even begun.
And here we go.
Hello everyone and welcome to Legends of the Batman. I'm Dan.
And this is Cody.
And you may have noticed this is not your regular DC Netcast. It is instead the DC BatCast. Our new show is all about the Caped Crusader, the Dark Knight, victor of every who would win between discussion ever, the Batman. On this show, we will be reading and discussing every chronological Batman story in the modern age, starting from 1987's Batman Year One and going through 2011's Flashpoint, possibly even further. But before we go too deep into the Batcave, I want to first discuss our personal Bat fan histories. Cody, did you want to talk about yours first, or?
Yeah, sure.
You don't have to. I can if you want.
Well, if you're going to offer me, then take it away. You're just a jerk.
Well, I wasn't going to. I just want to make sure you're prepared.
All right. So, So, Batman, of course, the best DC character ever invented, and like I said in a previous showing, my second favorite comic book character of all time. But I've been a huge fan since. Well, I don't remember if I started reading Batman comics before I saw the first Batman movie or if it was the other way around. But around that same time is just when I kind of jumped into things. I remember watching the 1960s Batman show when it came on TV and then going into the Batman movie. And then really for me, when Batman opened up and it really hooked me into the comics is because the Amazing Animated Series. My personal favorite Batman story of all time is The Long Halloween.
Good choice.
Yeah, it's so good. Dark Victory, its sequel, is still really strong, but just not near as proud of that. And then, of course, we'll have the Dark Knight Returns, Year One. I was really a big fan of the Hush series when they did that. That was a great storyline that I always had my own thoughts of how they could turn that into a film. Nightfall, Bane breaking the bat, that was so awesome. Didn't really like Azrael taking over the bat. I'll say this, not going into Batman, but on Robin, I still say Tim Drake was my favorite Robin until Damian Wayne.
Okay.
So, it's like Dick was great as Nightwing. He was a decent, cover-up for Batman, but that's going to be a couple episodes down the way because, as Ann said, we're going to go through chronological order, and just with my last week getting all the comics ready and breaking them up into what we're going to be talking about each episode, holy shit, there's a lot of stories we're going to have to be covering.
It's going to take quite a while, I'm afraid.
Yeah, so...
well, actually, I'm not afraid, because that means we have a nice long show for everybody.
Yeah, if we do nothing else, once a week, we will delve into, as he said, the Batcave, and we are going to break it down. I know we're going to go further, and later on there will be even more discussions about what brought us into the Bat, but I'm curious, what's your favorite story?
Well, okay, so if you're talking favorite story, it's the same. It's Long Halloween. I love that story. But I don't know. There's so many good ones that I've seen, so many good ones that I've read, so many good ones that were done through the animated series. But if you're just talking comics, I got to give it to Long Halloween. However, for my Bat fandom, I was born in '86. I was exposed to some of the best and the worst that Batman has ever had to offer. Having been too young for Tim Burton's '89 Batman, my first real exposure to the character was in 1992 with two masterpieces, Batman Returns and Batman the Animated Series. Although Returns was great to my 6-year-old self, the animated series was
the bomb.
on top. It was on always going to be my definitive version of Batman. And I'm really lucky in that regard. And although, like, as a child, I actually enjoyed Batman Forever and Batman and Robin because I was so young.
What? Even as a child, I didn't enjoy Batman and Robin.
I did.
Shame on you.
I did.
Shame.
Because we have to remember, I'm also younger than you, so I was at a much more,
retarded level of life?
Basically. Yeah. It's not anymore. I know. I'm sorry. But the animated series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman Beyond, those were my real like Batman experience. That's where I learned the most about the character. But what about the comics? You're probably asking because I haven't even mentioned them. Here's the thing. I grew up in a small town in Kansas where they did not sell comic books. We didn't get DC. We didn't get Marvel. I got Sonic and Pinky and the Brain comics off of like the spinny rack.
Archie Comics represent.
Yeah, that's basically it though. So like I never had any exposure to Batman in comic book form until I went to college. I've always said Batman is my accidental favorite superhero. At any given time, you could ask me who it is. I'm going to say Gambit, Spider-Man, Cyclops, Superman, Green Lantern, depending on where I was at that stage of my life. But I always come back to Batman because he's always been around for me in TV, in movies. But my first graphic novel I ever bought was The Dark Knight Returns. And then I followed that up with The Dark Knight Strikes Back, which was unfortunate, but I liked it at the time. And then I
still like it.
Oh, so do I.
I like it, but I don't love it.
I know, me too. So. But see, that's the thing. Those were my first two. Then I bought Year One. Then I bought Hush. And that's when I kind of started actually branching onto other comic books. But like my first comic collection was built on the back of Batman.
You did it the right way, sir. I'll give you that. You did it the right way.
Absolutely. I mean, like, and I have some other comic, but if my collection was just my Batman comics, I'd be perfectly happy. And there's still some I need to get that I've read. I mean, like The Killing Joke, Long Halloween, Dark Victory, The Man Who Laughs. Those are all great stories as well. Under the Hood's another one. Mm-hmm. Anything that Grant Morrison has done since Arkham Asylum, I've been pretty happy with. But what I really wanted to do and why I was really excited to do this show was to go back and catch up on everything that I missed growing up and really get a definitive version of the Batman that we're seeing currently in the New 52, even though that timeline has been condensed into like 5 years as opposed to the 3 or 4 that has been going on so far. So for the show, with the exception of this issue, which we're calling Issue 1, the plan with each episode is to talk about the latest Bat news, follow that up with a discussion of an episode or two of the show, a movie, an animated movie, just something Batman media related. And then I think we're going to give a big focus on the animated series, but I kind of split up every Batman year with a movie, starting with the Adam West film, and then going from there. Although I did give us a break between Returns and Batman Forever because I wanted to put those off as long as possible.
Yeah. But I like the idea of breaking it up per year, and I'm proud to say that I do own the Adam West 1966 Batman movie on Blu-ray.
Which is great.
And you know what? It looks glorious in high definition. I was really surprised about it. Going back into the animated series and then the films, there is one thing I do want to mention on this one before we get into it in our episode. But why did Mask of the Phantasm not get as much recognition as it should? Because that is arguably one of the best animated movies that's ever been done.
I would argue that it's one of the best Batman movies that have come out, and that includes the Nolan movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be hard-pressed, but gun to my head, I might put it up over Dark Knight Rises as a better movie overall for Batman. But you're right, as an animated movie, just in general, it's one of the best anime movies.
Yeah, and it does not get the recognition that it should.
It doesn't get the love that it really should, and it's really too bad. I think it's the follow-up, the Sub-Zero movie, wasn't nearly as strong.
No,
but that Mask of the Phantasm is timeless.
What was the one after the Sub-Zero? The one with the Mystery of the Batwoman?
Yes,
that one was like, yeah. But they started off so strong with Mask of the Phantasm.
I think that was the problem. Is like they set the bar really high, and then like these other movies, which probably would have been really good, we're kind of comparing to them most of the time. But Yeah, so we're going to talk about those. We're going to get into those. Actually, we're going to kind of watch the animated series in order, and those kind of come at the end of the animated series in between that and Justice League. I also wanted to cover Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, not the entire run, but like the Batman-specific episodes, and Batman Beyond, and Return of the Joker. And then once we're through with that, I don't know what we're going to do.
Honestly, did you ever watch
maybe the Batman?
Yeah, I was going to say The Batman.
Yeah.
I was so against it when it started. I have every episode on DVD, and that show was great.
So see, we might have. We'll definitely jump into those then.
And then,
you know, Beware the Batman.
Beware the Batman, which I'm still getting used to the new character designs, but it's pretty solid. But it's not the Batman. And it's not the animated series.
Okay, so don't hate me. I still haven't watched it yet because I don't have. I haven't had the capability to watch it.
Guess what? By the end of today, you will have them.
I will definitely. I'm excited to see them, even though I've heard very mixed reviews from like both you and other people online. So we're just kind of talking about the episode right now. One of the things I did want to do is the main focus of the show is going to be on the issues that we read. We're going to go into really deep what the issue is about, good parts of it, bad parts of it. We're going to read like everything that has come out since 1986, starting with year one, going into Legends of the Batman, because a lot of those take place in that same first 10-year span, and then getting starting with like Batman 408 onward, a lot of those storylines. But some of those stories are ridiculous. I mean, did you know that the Batman versus Judge Dredd are in continuity? Yeah, I'm not kidding. After Nightfall, Ezreal mentions his meeting with Judge Dredd in continuity. So they have to actually fit. So as much as I didn't really want to, I left those ones in there. And there are a few other ridiculous ones, but that's kind of the point, is I want to look at the good and the bad and see how they all really build on the Batman mythos overall.
And jumping into that, I also want to comment on something that I picked up reading the current stuff, which we'll get more into depth, but also going into Batman mythos is like, before they rebooted the age and everything like that, how old was Batman supposed to be? Because year one, he starts off as 25.
Yeah.
And we've got how many years of comics that they even mention, oh, it's been this long since you've done this. It's like, maybe Batman does have a superpower and it's not aging.
So here's part of it, and this is kind of spoiler territory for later on down the road. It's just a story that I'm somewhat familiar with. But in one of the Ra's al Ghul episodes, Batman actually gets knocked into the Lazarus pit and comes out of it, so there's a possibility of that. The other thing is Year Zero scales the timeline. So Year Zero came out in 95. And then it starts shifting. 0 Hour, sorry. 0 Hour. It starts shifting the timeline along. So, like, we get Cold War era type stories that are later on retconned to take place in, like, 99, 2000. It gets really weird. Batman's age is really hard to determine, but if you look at it, he's 25 in 87 when Year One comes out, up until Flashpoint, or like around the Flashpoint era. There's, I think, like, 24, 23 years, like, in between there. So you can venture he's getting to be about 50 at that point.
So by that age, he should be getting a little bit more gruff, like the amazing Batman Beyond Bruce Wayne.
Right, exactly. So yeah, we're getting into that, like Batman Beyond. Well, like at the beginning of Batman Beyond, in the first episode where you see him.
God, I want Batman Beyond to be canon.
Oh, man, I know, me too. I really, really do.
Terry McGinnis. For the win, man.
But you know what? It is canon in the animated universe.
That was an amazing Justice League episode, which I'm excited for us on talking about that one.
Me too, but
Epilogue,
that's awesome.
I think it was the name of it from Unlimited. Epilogue?
Yes, yeah.
That's an amazing episode.
So, hey, we got that to look forward to later.
Absolutely.
Way later on down the road. So, one of the other things I wanted to mention is some people don't like spoilers, but we're going to talk about news at the top of every episode, casting rumors, ideas for like Superman or for Man of Steel 2, like for Justice League, stuff like that. If you don't want spoilers for that, if you don't want spoilers for the show or the movies or the comics in particular, I'm going to be putting timestamps in the description of everything where each segment starts. So if you want to skip the news part at the beginning, you can jump right into like the actual reviews and the discussion part, and without missing that. So we'll make it really easy for you to do that as well.
That's an excellent idea, and kudos for you for thinking about that.
Thanks. So for the remainder of this episode, we kind of gone over everything. I really just want to talk about Batman, and since I want to try to shy away from like some spoilers of what we're going to read, kind of look back at the stuff that we're not going to talk about. So like Batman 1939, Detective Comics number 27. With the gun, the Batman, you know, like it started off everything up until 1986's Crisis on Infinite Earths. Did you read a lot of that? I mean, like I said, I wasn't really into... I couldn't get a hold of comics. But anything pre-Crisis. Were you ever like a Denny O'Neil fan? Did you read a lot of like those stories?
I did get actually a lot of collected ones when I was in Hayes. Actually, the public library had a lot of those really old ones. They did. And I checked out everything. And the Silver Age Batman, it was cool, but because... I guess I was from the modern age. It was a different take on the Batman, and I didn't like the lighter tone which came from it. But what I did really get into was a lot of the Elseworld stories of Batman.
Yeah, I've heard those are. I've only read maybe like Gotham by Gaslight was really good, which is awesome. I think a later Elseworlds tale. But I don't know. Like I said, my comic Batman information is limited compared to like the movies, the TV show stuff. I can
honestly say this: pre-Crisis, there's not a particular Batman story that really jumps to mind.
Really,
and that's from me, who you're very well knowledge, but as I am older and up until getting married and getting pregnant with my wife, have no life. So for somebody who reads comics constantly, I have never, just because it was such a different departure from the Batman that I'm used to, because I want my Batman to actually be, Batman, be the world's greatest detective. I kind of strayed away from reading back some of that older stuff that a lot of, the older generations do find as classic stories, just because they weren't part of my generation, which therefore your generation. I can just more or less thinking of reading some Elseworld stories or collected editions, and that's really my past Batman experience.
See, and I've tried to go back and pick up like the Batman Chronicles books that they've done for some of the DC characters and like the archives and stuff like that. And like you said, it's not my Batman. It's not the Batman that I know from like the 90s through present. Like going back to what you said, 1939, the Batman, he was a vigilante around Gotham. He used a gun.
Yeah.
Batman
straight up gatting fools.
He was taking out people permanently.
I think in the first Batman issue, he killed a guy. I mean, he shot him dead.
I'm almost positive you're right.
Yeah. So
and then people thought that was dark at that time because we had like the Big Blue Boy Scout. That was like the other big superhero at the time, and people were like, oh my god, he's killing people. And then they added Robin in, and it was still kind of that darker tone, but a little bit lighter. I know just from reading that kind of back in the past that it really got campy with the Adam West show.
Yeah.
Like the lead up and then past that to the late 70s was all biff, bang, bow,
which
camp.
Was cool for being a kid. Now it has great nostalgic value, but
Absolutely.
If you're a hardcore comic enthusiast, like that show just pisses you off. And I've spoken to some people that grew up in that timeline that were so pissed off at the show that have strictly, their Batman is the Silver Age Batman, and stopped reading it cold turkey when they did make it all super campy and like the Super Friends and stuff like that. So there is a generation gap there, which is weird now that I'm close to 30. You're what? How old now?
26.
26. Yeah, and like just that generation gap, just so far ahead of where we're at now. It's just like we're not even old now. We're talking about the generation gap because the people they're grown up with now for their comics.
Oh yeah, people are getting
ones. The cartoon shows themselves speak.
Absolutely,
nothing is the same anymore. So
I can't. it's kind of like with when we were talking about our Marvel episode. I can't imagine a kid now trying to jump into like New 52 Batman, where even though Bruce Wayne is Batman and Dick Grayson is Nightwing and Tim Drake is Red Robin and Damian Wayne we won't talk about because I don't want to spoil too far ahead, but I don't know how you could jump into that. Because even just current, I mean, back in the day we had Batman, we had the Detective Comics, and we had anything that was kind of, you know, like an Elseworlds type book that was coming out, like Legends of the Batman. But nowadays, you got Batman, you got Detective, you got The Dark Knight, you got Batman Incorporated, you got Batman and Robin. You know, like, there's so many of them.
It's like, where do you begin?
You can't. I mean,
and then
it's
going back into the New 52, like, currently, like, you have to figure out what's canon, like, oh, this is Justice League, it's supposed to be set before Batman. Oh, when does it come back up to now it's current, now it's set in the future. Like, that's just something all comic book people need to just get on the track with the same time period. That's
well, and the other thing is, too, is that you got Batman by, not Zack Snyder, Scott Snyder, which that had, like, the Night of the Owls. It was a little bit, it had the Death in the Family, it was a little bit more grounded. But if you read The Dark Knight, it's, like, crazy, supernatural, like, buff Two-Face in, like, the first episode, and, like, Clayface and stuff like that. And the other book, or at least, like, that, like, the main core Batman book, don't ever really touch on
what happened in the other issues.
What happened in those other issues. And they kind of have, like, a different tone that I just don't think works as well. Like, Superman's not bad because you had Action Comics and you have Superman. Action Comics is earlier in the career and Superman is present in, like, the New 52.
And that actually worked better timeline-wise, understanding it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it was also weird in... was it Man of Steel where he was first showed up with jeans and boots? And
exactly.
I was like, that's the kind of a Superman I finally got interested in.
Right.
But, then they just kind of jump all over the place. But, it's kind of weird to kind of pinpoint when Batman became Batman for, myself and when it should be for other people.
Exactly. And that's really why I think if you're just interested in Batman or just new to it, because they kept a lot of the continuity, I think you should join us. I think you should jump in with us, read year one first, and then go in, if not chronological order, at least release order through, like, the 90s of the major arcs. So, you got Long Halloween, you got Dark Victory, you start running up into Cult, Batman and the Cult, and then once you get into the Crises stuff, you're in a little trouble. But even then, Batman has always seemed to kind of step aside from those big changes. So, like, they always say, okay, Crisis on Infinite Earths, 0 Hour, Infinite Crisis, and Final Crisis are the big changes in the DC universe. It never affects Batman, except for Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yeah.
Everything else, like, Batman always stays canon. The timelines may shift. They may take certain stories and mix. Well, the Son of the Demon, which I think came out before Crisis on Infinite Earth, whichever demon story it is that Talia takes Bruce Wayne's regenerative juices, let's just say that, and and creates a son. That was that was originally out of continuity. They actually took that out of continuity and then put it back. Grant Morrison came along and using I think like a flashback from like one issue, put that back into continuity,
and it fit.
And it fits perfect. I mean, it works great. I mean, we're definitely going to be reading it, but because you have to. I mean, that Batman and Robin, and Batman and Son, like they all.
I demand some Damian Wayne talk on this podcast.
I can't wait to get to it because
I read 5 years probably from now.
Probably so. I read smatter. Well, here's the thing: some of the years that we go through only like year 3 of Batman that we're going to be talking about has 3 graphic novels in it, and that's it. So some of the years we're going to blow through pretty quick. Year 14, year 15, and 16, they got a lot, but they're only individual episodes, so we can knock a handful of them out at a time. But I am looking forward to I never got into a Damian Wayne as much because I never read Batman and Son. I never read Batman and Robin. I was actually into Green Lantern while all those were coming out because Hal Jordan had come back in Green Lantern Rebirth, and there was a starting point. You could jump on the Green Lantern. He was important in all of the stories that were coming out at that time, and you could really get a good sense of what was going on in the DC universe. That was not the case for Batman.
And that's the whole reason why I did not jump into it when they made the big hype about Hal Jordan coming back.
Yeah.
Birthright. is that's when they started using Damon Wayne, and I really got into the character.
Which is cool.
So
I'm really looking forward to.
That's the whole reason that's like, that's the thing that this is going to be great, is because we are on the, as much as we love the same thing, we're on the opposite spectrums, and there's going to be some discussion, some breakdown. I'm hoping for some future arguments, which is going to, heated arguments always get fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I'm really looking forward to both like the good and the not so good Batman stories. But I think what I'm really most interested in is watching how these different writers have gone back and either retcon old stories into like the Batman mythos, or especially once we get past the Legends of the Dark Knight and we get past year 10, seeing how the authors in the 90s really grew the character and reintroduced some villains post-Crisis.
Yeah.
So I mean that's probably, and we've already seen post-Crisis my favorite Batman villain, which is Two-Face, in the Long Halloween. So I'm really looking forward to reading that again. I'm actually going to go out and buy it. I've always read it. I have it digitally. I've always read it digitally. I'm really looking forward to just going out and buying an edition. You
should come see my Absolute edition.
I will.
I'm
going to come like salivate over it, you know. So, gosh, we've kind of ran through a whole bunch of stuff on.
Oh yeah, by the way, we're also going to be talking about the Batman video games.
Yes! Oh yeah. Okay, so that was what I did want to talk about. Yeah. Periodically, we are going to do special episodes. So later on down the road, The Dark Knight Returns, maybe The Dark Knight Strikes Back, depending on how we're feeling. I think we should. And then the video games, I think we should do their own special episodes for those.
I believe so.
Because they don't fit in the continuity. One of the things that and we can talk about it on here without having to discuss it, when it comes to the Batman video games, Arkham Origins and Arkham Origins Blackgate are coming out, and they're
prequels.
They're prequels. And a part of me really wants to go back and play Arkham Asylum and Arkham City before those two come out. But since they are prequels, and since we have GTA 5, and we have GTA 5 Online, and we have Pokemon XY that are all coming out before Batman, my plate is full. My video game plate is overfloweth of the things. So I was thinking we play Origins Blackgate. We do a special episode on those.
Yep, and then we'll jump through...
And then we'll do one for Arkham City and Arkham Asylum. Well, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City.
Yep. That's exactly how we should do it.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, I'm super looking forward to Arkham Origins, and I don't want to just put it in between news and whatever issue we're having that week.
We'll have our own DC BatCast Elseworlds edition.
Exactly. And I know I have planned out, because The Dark Knight Returns and because The Dark Knight Returns movies have recently come out, I wanted to do a special episode on those, because those are I mean, it's a good-sized book. It's not like anything gigantic, but it's 4 old issues, which is like, 50 pages, I think, an issue or something like that. Yeah. So you're looking at like a 200-page book, and it's all pretty high quality, honestly. Yeah. I started reading through Returns just for fun, and other than the problem that I've always had with the structure of the book when it comes to reading order, which is the same problem I have with Arkham Asylum, it's a really strong read.
Yeah, it is. I mean, even though it's firmly placed in the 80s, you know. It's... And I gotta commend DC's animated studios for actually not half-assing it and just putting out a movie. They split the story between 2, and that was a very wise decision for them, because the animated movie, you know, it rocked it pretty well. And
that's what I've heard. I've held off watching it for this podcast, so that way I could watch it fresh for the first time for this podcast. I haven't seen it.
We might have to fast track the Elseworlds edition. So
okay, so we'll
before Arkham Origins comes out, we have to do it.
Cool. Yeah. So I think I'll have to look back at the schedule. I think that might be planned out like that. I think we'll have it done before Origins.
Maybe we should do a special episode after every year.
Yeah, we could do that. That's true. It's been tough. I have the first 10 years of Batman's history planned out, and I've skimmed through like years 11 through 17 to see what we have like left to read, and kind of to see where everything takes place. And okay, this is another like far off spoiler, but I'm not going to spoil anything. Okay, before I get into that, the real Batman chronology project is the place to go for Batman chronology. You can go to the unofficial DC Universe chronology. You can go for paperback reading order, but forget all those. This guy, I'll have to look up his name. His information is going to be in the show notes on his site, because I want to give him a big shout out. he has gone through and meticulously put these books in order based on Gordon's ranking in the police department, things that like certain characters say, like when Barbara Gordon, after she becomes Oracle, talks about being killed and reborn as like Oracle a year ago. He's taken the time to really look through and put these books in order, piece by piece by piece. So if you're a big Batman fan, if this interests you at all like it interests me, I highly suggest going to the Real Batman Chronology Project. It's where the order that I was looking at came from 100%, and it is meticulous in its detail.
That's awesome. I did not know about that. I'm curious. We should get him on the show.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I've actually been in contact with him. I asked him for permission to use his information and to go ahead and promote his site. He was kind enough to check out our site, and he put it on his links there. So we'll have his website in the show notes, and we'll also have them on the website and part of our links too.
Excellent.
I'd like to, once we kind of get up and running, maybe get him on there, because I'll tell you what, he responds to every email. He responds to every comment on his pages. He's got great notes. He even puts like little flashbacks that you get from episodes like 10 years that were written 10 years later that have like a flashback panel. He'll put that in the notes where it should fit in. It is amazing what this guy said. He's obviously a giant Batman fan. And it's not even just modern age. He's also working on Golden Age, Silver Age, like leading up to, oh my God, everything. But this all led up to this crazy thing where Crisis on Infinite Earths actually fits in to the modern age Batman chronology, even though it takes place beforehand and started the modern age Batman chronology. So we're going to read Crisis on Infinite Earths as well.
Well, I got that, so...
So I wanted to give him a shout out. This was a good place to do it, I think, because it's really, really good site.
But like I said, before we go off on too much thing, I think we should go ahead and start closing this down, because this has been honestly, I'm part of the whole thing, and I didn't know half the stuff that we're going to be getting ready to do. But I think
I've been sitting here just like typing up all these notes, like typing up stuff, and it's like sending you stuff, and then typing up stuff, and I come up with something else, I type it up down, and then I wouldn't get a chance to send it to you yet. So I'll show you my notes like when we're done, because I got like 2 Evernote or whatever they are pages, just full of like order, information, just like crazy stuff. So this is going to go on for a while. The reason we are going to do 1 episode a week is because if we didn't, we wouldn't even get past Batman Year 5, I think, before the year was out. Or like the next year was out. So I think 1 a week. I think it won't interrupt our comic book reading, like our normal comic book reading, too much. So for the next episode, for issue 1, as we're calling it, it's all year 1. We're going to take a look at the story, which is Batman 404 through 407 in the order. It's also collected, which I have a brilliant collection of it. And then we're going to do the movie, which it's been a while since I've seen, but it is fantastic from my memory. So
yeah, it sounds like this is going to be a lot of fun, a lot of interesting, and honestly, as much as a Batman fan that we both are, it's going to be an eye-opener.
Oh, I think so too.
I think it's going to be a great time for people that loved Batman before, or trying to figure out something. Like, everybody needs to get in on this, because we're going to break it down, and
yes.
The secrets of the Batcave are ours, damn it.
That's right. So yeah, please join us. We're going to be doing these on-air hangouts. We'll let you know ahead of time exactly the time and the dates and everything like that we'll be doing them ahead of time. So you can come in, you can join in on the chat. Leave us a comment. We're going to still be using the DC Netcast, because this is a DC Netcast production. So we're going to be using the DCNetcast@gmail.com. Go ahead and hit us up there if you have anything to say about year 1 for the next episode. Just use the subject Batman or Batcast. Just do Batcast. And then issue whatever we're on. So in this case, it'll be Batcast issue 0. Leave us a comment. Let us know. Hit us up on Twitter. Follow us on Tumblr. You'll get all of our information on there. We'll be updating the calendar on the website soon, so you'll know exactly when we're going to be recording. And join us on Google Plus under the DC Netcast name for our live hangouts when we're recording.
Yeah, I think that's... I think we should try to maybe shoot for Tuesdays.
I think so. I think that'll work best.
Yeah, but it's going to be really exciting. It's going to be a great experience. We hope you really enjoy this, because I know We are.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm like chomping at the bit. I know you started reading a little bit of Shaman. Like, I'm purposely trying to hold off reading ahead, and it's very difficult because, like, after reading year one, because I've already read it, and I know you have too, and just like going back, and I'm just like, I really want to know what happens to this character next because. Another spoiler: Long Halloween, which was always set up as a year 2, or always like hyped as a year 2 story. It's not. It's a year 3 story.
Yeah.
So, because of Legends of the Dark Knight. Because the Legends of the Dark Knight comic book series, which a lot of them went back and told stories from Batman's first year, completely kicks out Long Halloween and puts it further ahead in the timeline based on Harvey Dent, based on Jim Gordon, based on information like that. So, and Selena Kyle, exactly, and stuff like that. So, like, reading, like, it's funny because I've always been like, okay, year 1, then Long Halloween, then Dark... No. It goes year 1, a bunch of stories, Long Halloween, and Venom, and a bunch of stories, and then, like, Dark Victory is year 5 of Batman, which is crazy. So, definitely check out that website, and keep it locked here for all things Batman and nerd culture.
Absolutely. So, I think Dan kind of really owned this episode. So, like I said, thank you for still letting me be a part of this. But
sorry, I didn't mean to take over the
No. I'm really I commend you. You've done some wonderful research on this. You really opened up a whole new direction that I think is going to be much more focused than the netcast. When that was a blast. So this is really going to take off. I believe this one is going to get more interest than what people are going to realize, or even what we realize. I think this is going to be the one that, when you're ready to learn about Batman, discuss Batman, you're going to want to go to us.
Yeah.
And we're also, I don't know that guy's name, but I know we're going to give the credit where it's due for where we're getting our information when we need to get to it. So this is going to be an ever-expanding project that I'm really looking forward to for the next couple of years.
Me too. So, all right, with that, we'll go ahead and close it off. Got to do the classic same bat time, same bat channel. Keep an eye out for issue 1 coming soon.
Yes, sir.
For the Batcast, Legends of the Batman, I'm Dan.
And this is Cody.
Have a good one.